free.
Right. And so this program gets a lot of flack because if you go on their website, you'll see a lot of scores that aren't good. But I've somehow managed to work my way around it and make it sound decent. Now, one of the things you'll notice is the font is not like the score because you have to download some different fonts if you want to make it look like a professional score. I base my scores off, like, if you go on alfred.com or JW Pepper, they have all these scores online that you can base your work off. So anyway, so the good thing about MuseScore is you have, hold on. The good thing about MuseScore is you can do a lot that you wouldn't think of. Like, here's a keyboard right here that you can check all of your voicings and make sure nothing is clashing with each other. And you'll notice when I play this score, it's not going to sound as good as how it is on my laptop because I download some sound fonts, different sound fonts to get the sound better. Because if I don't have the right sounds, the default MuseScore sounds are terrible. So if you don't have the right sounds, you can't really hear the music properly in your head. Anyway, so I made 2 scores for this, one for a recording, a digital recording, and then one for the presentation. And as you can see, they look very different to each other. The recording, you don't have to format or anything like that. It's really messy, mainly because this is just for the audio, and this is for the visuals. So right now, I'm just gonna play the first 8 bars and see how that works. Right. So pretty basic, and right now you just have to think of an outline of the entire thing. So in typical jazz stuff, you have an intro, right? Here's an 8-bar intro. Then you've got the melody over here. Right.
Oh yeah.
And then you keep going, and then you have the melody again, but with some backgrounds. Right. And then after that, then you go on to the solos. And here, let me play the recording score because this is gonna sound better. Even if it doesn't have the right sound fonts that I use, it still has the drums and the bass and all that. And another thing, so for a digital recording, when you're doing an improvised solo, I don't recommend just writing out a solo out of nowhere. What I do is I record myself playing a solo over the form, and then I transcribe what I recorded. In my opinion, that's the only way to do it, because then it sounds like a written solo. If you
all right, yeah. you get
right.
depth for that one a little bit.
So yeah, I'm just gonna play the little last bit, and then it goes on to the solo. At the end, I'll show you what it really sounds like when it has the proper sound fonts because I downloaded it over here. So I'm just going to show little bits here and there. And so the basic outline right now is intro, melody with backgrounds, solos for saxophone, and then over here you've got backgrounds for the solo. So. So then you have an interlude in between soloists so that you can have some space. And this is a stop time section, so the drums completely stops, and it's a cappella for the horns. And they do this 3-4-4-4 polyrhythm, so that's a pretty cool thing. And the important thing about this is that you know the theory behind it. Like if you don't know the theory that's going all around this, you can't really compose something like this. So you have to really get in depth with all that and take inspiration from other major big band compositions to work out the voicings and make it sound like how it would from the 1950s or any style that you're looking for. And the cool thing about this trumpet solo, right? So now it's on the trumpet solo. The chord progression changed a lot using, Charlie Parker. He wrote a tune called Blues for Alice, and it's a blues, but all the changes are screwed up, And right. And so that's the vehicle for the trumpet solo. And then eventually, after that goes on for a little while, he takes about 3 courses. It goes into the on cue section for when it gets into the drum solo. And so the thing about the recording, it's really tedious work. You have to write out the entire drum solo. And if you notice, you can go down here, and each note for this, see different tuning, and maybe different velocity on some of them. You have to manually do all that so that it sounds realistic. Like this line, each of these snare hits has a different velocity and tuning so that it sounds realistic. And it's really tedious work.
Who is this?
And for some reason, when it's like midnight, that's when I'm most active at composing. And I did this.
I don't sleep.
Let's see.
Join the club.
Okay, so I started this score on the 4th. I kind of had a bet. That's how most of my compositions come out. Someone's like, "Hey, I bet you can do this. I bet you can't do this in a month. Make a big band chart." And so I started this on the 4th and finished it on the 25th of August. So, if you want some good motivation, just have someone bet you. Okay. Now, after the solos, all the solos are done. Now there's the development section. And this part changes a lot. It's not 12 bars anymore. It's an 8-bar bass vamp. And then the instruments start piling in. So you start off with kind of sort of like a gospel bass line almost. So after the development section is done, you have a 4-bar drum setup into this huge shout chorus that does a loop and all that. And to do all these falls and all that, as you can see, you have to kind of hack MuseScore in a way. Like this is not normal notation, right? When I show the preview, it's going to look a lot more accurate to what a professional look is. But if you want to write it out, you have to kind of trial and error and see what works. So after this happens, goes on for a while, shout. And then there's a big ending right here. And again, you have to meticulously write out all the drums to make it kind of like a big ending. Intro, melody with backgrounds, solos, or sax solo, trumpet solo, drum solo, development section, shout, chorus, big ending. Right? That's a it's long form, but that's how these big band charts work. And so here's the look. It's a lot different. Notice all the drums are just slashes. MuseScore doesn't play slashes, and neither does a lot of notation programs. But so the song is called Boogie Side Blues. You need a boogie bass line, and I kind of come back to this idea at the shout chorus, because when it gets into the solos, it turns into more regular jazz with improvised bass lines and comping with the piano and all that. Anyway, so now I'm going to get into what the score looks like. As you can see, this looks a lot better. A font really makes a huge difference. Everything looks clean now. It's not messy or anything, and it tells you all the instructions that's needed for a conductor or a director to work with the band. And so now I'm just gonna play the actual recording, and I'm just probably gonna flip through the pages so you can hear the whole thing in action. There we go. All right. Oh, wait a minute. No, not that. Hold on. There we go.